A woman is afraid of her man's immaturity, who wants to leave her for his young lover. But the woman does not hesitate to stand in silence, and threatens to destroy him if he leaves the marriage. But the man does not give up easily. One night he starts to follow his wife, but then something terrible happens. So let's start with it. Leonora goes for a run in the evening. Her husband, Christian, gets into a white van and drives her to his death. The investigator at least believes that this happened, but he could never prove it. According to the girl, this could have been an accident, but the man confesses that Christian had an interesting accident 3 days before the accident. Then we see that Leonora asks her husband for his phone to check his message at 4 o'clock in the morning. But of course he does not want to give it to her, so the woman insists that he surely has a lover. Then she takes out the device from his hand, but the man rather cuts the wall than give it to her. We learn from the investigator that Christian and his friend Peter founded a construction company, which started very quickly. His wife was a bricklayer, but at the age of 15, when their son Johan became ill, she had to give up her career to feed him. Following the incident at dawn, Leonora returns home from the morning run, and her husband does not welcome her too warmly. Then Johan asks his father to take her to school, but he rejects him, so the task falls on his mother. Then the woman apologizes for her behavior in the evening, and at the moment of breaking the phone, she says that she would like to fix it. But her husband realizes that he is still only interested in the SMS, so he does not leave her alone. On the way to school, he picks up one of his son's girlfriends, Marta. Meanwhile, the man gets to work, where Peter accepts the bad news that he has received a criminal record, but he does not have to panic, probably just a routine thing. Then, turning to the construction, Christian smiles at a nice woman. When they are left alone, we find out that she is his lover Xenia. The man tells her that he had a big problem at night because of her message, which he could not read. In the SMS, Xenia gave him the ultimatum to choose between her and her wife. Because of the kiss, she believed that he had made up his mind. The man complains that his son has not fully built up, so his place is next to his family. The woman would leave him there angry, but the man does not react so easily. Meanwhile, the wife washes the car, to which she has to fill in the card balance. But she has to put at least 100 crowns on it, but the washing costs only 79. So there is always a small amount left on it that cannot be spent. The woman therefore arranges an appointment, then finally puts 200 crowns on her card. Arriving home, she asks for help on the phone to restore the data of her husband's mobile phone. Meanwhile, on Facebook, she clicks on her lover, who has quite a lot in common with Christian. Meanwhile, her husband arrives home. He would like to cuddle in bed, but he prefers to take a shower. Later, they go to a reception, where Christian talks about their current project, and while he is talking about Xenia, the wife happens to be watching them with a suspicious look. During the party, Xenia goes upstairs, and Leonora secretly follows her. From the office, shy chicks are heard, and when she takes a look, she sees her husband with her lover, who is looking at her curiously. On the way home, the wife sits in silence, struggling with her worries, but she does not bring it up. The next morning, her husband and a friend, Kim, are preparing a candle for the St. Ivan's Day on the lakefront next to the house, and they are talking about the wedding. According to Kim, it will be easier on separate trips than for the two of them, and she thinks it's better to skip it, even if it's unpleasant for her. So when Christian gets home, he sits down to talk to her. He says he needs a break, while his wife asks him if he has anyone. The husband, of course, refuses, but Leonora confronts him that he saw them at the reception yesterday. The wife wants to go to the police, because she was involved in a tax fraud, which made her husband a rich man, but he would be completely destroyed by the incident. Christian defends himself that they needed him to be able to raise their son. Yes, but they used to have an agreement that while the husband was looking for money, Leonora would support their child. This was the basis of his career as a bricklayer, and if Christian gives up, he will start a lawsuit. The husband is afraid of the police's threats, so he tries to convince Peter to sign the fraud, and they say they were just making a mistake. But this is not an option, so they continue to decide in the face of humiliation. Then Xenia asks him what's wrong with them. The husband agrees to talk to his wife, and he will let her go. He gets enthusiastic about his wife, and he would introduce her to his mother and his friend. Then the two men are fighting again on the beach. Christian tells Kim that their relationship will not be just a walk in the park. His friend suggests that he get someone next to his wife, for example, an old friend who he can support spiritually. This is the same for him. Meanwhile, Leonora is completely alone. Again and again, he recalls the coldness of his husband. The next day, the husband starts to follow. Christian, the wife, is looking for an old friend whom they haven't talked to for 18 years. The woman warns him, Leonora is not the type who can be left alone. His first love, Mike, fell off a cliff in mysterious circumstances, just that night when he wanted to break up with her. Then he tells her about his own situation, and that such situations always come from the soul. So it's not a shame if you have some debts. Whether it's money, a child, a house, a threat, or even a divorce. After the conversation, Christian picks up the rock, then he calls the woman who had a relationship with Mike. The woman is sure that at that time Leonora had shot the boy, but they couldn't prove it. His wife follows him here, so she knows he fell down. After this, the husband goes to Xenia and meets his family, not knowing that Leonora is still under pressure. When he gets home, his wife gives him the road. The man, however, wants to know what the woman wants, so he stops the report. Then he gets to Mike's case. The woman denies the charges, and Christian doesn't want to leave. So a situation arises. Leonora then puts the man, either he ends his relationship, or he immediately calls the police. The man then calls Xenia, but he can't break up with her. Leonora then throws him out, and makes it clear that the child, the house and the bigger car are hers. According to the investigator, Christian then went to the office, where he changed his car. Although he was drunk, he was still able to act properly. He then waits by the road where the woman usually runs. Then when he sees her, he gets under pressure and accelerates. To make sure he goes, he pushes her back, and then drives away. After he changed his car, he goes back to the office, and makes coffee to make her feel better. Then he goes home to the dark house, where he meets his son, who is looking for his mother. Christian doesn't answer, just goes to take a shower, and gets drunk. Then he fills a drink, but suddenly Leonora appears behind him, and asks him what he's looking for. The man is shocked, as if he sees a ghost. It turns out that the woman was running on a new route, so someone else accelerated to death. The men then see the light of the sirens from the window, that is, they found the victim. Then they lie down to sleep, then talk about trying to fix their marriage. The next day Christian goes to work, and takes his son to school with the smaller car. But his wife gives him back the key to the Mercedes. After telling him about the acceleration, Leonora goes to the scene to see what happened. There she finds out that a mother of 3 was accelerated to death while running, and adds a point where she usually goes. In the afternoon, they hold a party for Johan, when the police comes in and ask about the acceleration. Christian, of course, refuses to know anything about the case. Meanwhile, his lover bombs with messages, which his wife also notices. The man then lies again. He says he was with Xenia on the night of the acceleration, and broke up with her. Following this, Christian goes to the crime scene, where the drawings of the kidnapped children are confronted with his horrible deeds. He enters the police station to surrender himself, but they make him sit down to wait for his turn. Then he remembers a message from his son, that he can't just surrender himself, because he is responsible for it. From the news, it turns out that the police is not looking for his car, but for a Roman number white van, so he thinks about it and walks away. Meanwhile, his wife goes to wash the car again, but she doesn't have enough money again. She used to spend enough for 2 washes. So she goes to advertise, where it turns out that her husband used his card at home. He confronts Christian about his horrible secret. He asks for the security camera footage, which is perfectly visible, as the man examines the white van after the traces of the collision. Leonora also finds out that he wanted to kill her. Then Johan disturbs them, who does not understand what is happening between his parents, and asks if they want to stop. But Marta calls them down, so they are left alone again. The woman is afraid that her husband will try to kill her again, so she calls the police. Christian takes out his phone and lies to the police that he saw the Roman number van on the night of the accident. Meanwhile, the woman gets into her car, and after she gets her cell phone back from her husband, she leaves. Then the police arrive. Christian says goodbye to his son, because he thinks he is being detained, but the investigator came for the Roman number van, so his wife did not give it up. Later, Leonora calls her husband to a restaurant. She tells him that even if she deserved to go to prison, she would take their son. So it came to the point that they had to kill Xenia, because then there would be a common secret that would bind them together. According to the man, he lost his mind, but the woman does not give up, because she thinks he just needs a good alibi. He tells her that when he shot Michael from the cliff, he put a record on the wall to make them think he was mad. The next day, the couple takes out an apartment for the big event. Leonora starts her husband's way, who gets into a van and goes to Xenia. The woman, of course, has enough that she does not know how many of them are there, so she leaves. But then Christian breaks the glass of the door, licks his mouth, and says he loves her. Meanwhile, Leonora delivers the dinner order with which she creates an alibi. Xenia fills a plate for the two of them, and Christian pulls in the curtains. When Leonora sends her husband's cell phone with the text of her lover, the man grabs Xenia so that she cannot read it. Meanwhile, the waiter arrives with the order, and the woman continues to act to make it look like her husband is in the room. Christian, instead of killing Xenia, prefers to fall in love with her. After a break, the woman goes to the bathroom, where she sees that the window is open. In the mirror, however, she looks at Leonora, who flushes. Christian hears strange sounds, so he calls Xenia. But he does not get an answer. When he opens the bathroom, he sees his wife, who says she knew she would not be able to do with her lover, so he had to do it. The next morning, Leonora runs into the woods, and Christian is sad at work. The detective tells him that Xenia was in his house, which was completely tidy. A freshly pulled bed, immaculate cleanliness. But she disappeared without a trace. In addition to his messages, they also found the SMS about the breakup. Because of this, they started to suspect Christian, so they went to him. Instead of the man, however, his wife answered their questions. She explained that they had some difficult years, and her husband had a relationship, but it was over. The police continue to suspect Christian, but without a body, they cannot prove anything. While he is looking for Xenia with great force, the celebration of Saint Ivana begins. Christian would like to light the candle, but they hid the candle there. The dogs smell it, but Kim also feels the hatred. The man can only light the fire, but when the magic is finally in flames, it gets lighter. The detective gives up the search and leaves. Christian watches as his love becomes a firefly. And what happened to the bags? They even fit in a bag. After they sold their houses, they could easily get rid of them. At the end of the story, the detective gives the girl to the man, although he tried to talk about it for a long time. Maybe he was just walking on the shoulders of his enemies. Because love is much more dangerous than he had ever thought. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.